Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews.
Here's the newest expansion for Paul Peterson's smash up, Oops, You Did It Again, which is a Britney Spears reference, but also the fact that the fans voted on this. So you're going to get martial arts, the mummies, the Cowboys, things you've been looking on, and Vikings, which are pretty neat. So you're going to open this up. This is going to be kind of what you're normally going to get. You're going to get a rule book, which we will go ahead and take a look at, which is pretty good. I mean, it goes through, get to know the cards in case you acclimated with that. And you can't, I guess you could maybe play this without the main deck, but I don't think that anybody would. But it's going to go through setup and kind of show you how to play the actual game, which is great, and the card resolution. And then it's going to show you the extra awards that you're going to have, game over, how it ends, and how to score. And then here's where you're really going to want it for the fans. This is where the new roles start. How do you bury cards, and how do you do a duel? And that's what's going to be most interesting. Some terms and restrictions with pictures of cards, which is fantastic. So you kind of know how those works. A few clarifications that maybe they couldn't get on the card and they knew it, which is always nice. Go ahead and admit that. Put that in the book. That's fine. And then void where prohibited. I like this rule book quite a bit. Here's the pictures for the different factions: ancient Egyptians, Cowboys, Vikings, and Samurais. I like that quite a bit. So here's how the inside of the box. These are going to be your nice plastic dividers you're going to get in case you have the geeky box or some other products. You're going to see that the artwork is great. Now these are nice and plastic. The Vikings, you're going to have the Samurai, the Cowboys, and the ancient Egyptians. And each one's going to tell you at the bottom what expansion it's from. These are always nice. I mean, I wish more of a Legendary did this. I wish more companies followed this lead. These are beautiful artwork on that. You're going to have a number of these 5s and 1s. I have so many of these now. You're going to see their theme for this one with the cowboy hat and stuff. But I got so much of this that it's just overwhelming at some point. So let's take a look at the different factions. We're going to have the Cowboys, the ancient Egyptians. And it's nice that each one, as you can see, has a little slouch inside here where they can kind of hang out if you wanted to keep them in their original packaging. There is Vikings, and here is going to be the Samurais. You can see each one of them has a little spot in here. You know, it's custom. It's a little cardboard thing. It's much appreciated by me. Okay, let's start with the bases. You got the 19 so Corral. After you play a minion here, you may duel another player's minion, destroy the losing minion. I'll go and explain duels in a few minutes. After a minion here is destroyed, each player with a minion here may draw a card to salute. The pyramids, on your turn, may bury a card from your hand. I'll get into burying in a second. After a card is buried, there's an action that's played on the base. Its controller draws a card. After you play a minion here, you may duel another player's minion here. The controller of the winning minion draws 2 cards. Each turn, the first time one of your minions here gets to the discard pile, draw a card. The Longhouse, on your turn, you may place a card from your hand on top of your deck to give one of your minions here +2 power until the end of their turn. And finally, you got Drakkar. The first time each turn a player plays a minion here, they may reveal it at the top card of another player's deck. If it's an action or a minion of power 3 or less, they may place it into their hands. It's going to give you a chance to like go out and steal cards from other people. Very cool. I do like these bases quite a bit. I do like it when they come up a lot. Your enjoyment of some of these are going to be based on whether you like the bury mechanic and the dueling. So let's get into that a little bit. There is 2 new mechanisms in this game. One is burying. So when you bury a card, you just place it face down beside a base. That's what you'll do. Other players cannot look at it, and it's considered bury. You may only bury a card if an ability allows it, okay? And while it's buried, it's not affected by either abilities. Nobody can target it, nothing like that. It'll just stay there face down. Each player may uncover one of their buried cards at the start of their turn. You may uncover a card when the ability allows it, or when a buried card is uncovered, its controller immediately plays it as an extra card. So I could just play this as an extra card somewhere if I was allowed to bury it. When a card's uncovered or reburied, any counters or cards on it are discarded. Buried cards not themselves have any power. So if it's face down, it does not have any power, nor presence to help break or win a base. After a base score is released, played for any reason, the buried card would go in the discard pile if it never became unburied. So that's pretty easy. You can just place it down, certain things, and let it come up. Hopefully at a good time for you. Now, you also have these things called duels that you'll be doing. When 2 minions duel, their controllers may place a card from their hand on the table face down. They may do something like this. Then each player will reveal the card, starting with the challenger. If it's an action, it's played normally. Otherwise, it's returned to the hand. So this will be a way for you to do an action. This is a minion. So this will return to my hand. this is a minion, so it will return to the hand. If they had played an action card, something like this, then they would be able to take that action as it's listed on the card. That's kind of how the dueling would work. So let's jump into these decks with the one that I wanted to see the most, which is the Cowboys. I'm an Old West fan, as some of you guys know, and I'll try to go over these the best I can. So here you're going to have their Deputy. Special on your turn or during a duel involving your minion, you may discard this card from hand to give another minion +2 until the end of the turn, which can be very handy if you're looking to bust something. You got a Gunfighter. This minion may duel another player's minion here, destroy the losing minion. So they would have to have a minion at the location. You would go there with this guy, and you would perform a duel, and then whoever lost, you would destroy their minions. That can be a really good way to get rid of somebody if it's powerful enough. Pinkerton. Those who know the Old West know about the Pinkertons. When one of your minions here is in a duel, you place a +1 counter on it. These duels are going to be very important for these guys. Before this base scores, the minion may duel another player's minion here, destroy the losing minion. Gold Stripes. So we're going to get to the actions here. Play on a base. Ongoing, after you play a minion here, you draw a card. High Noon. One of your minions duels another player's minion at the same base. Destroy the losing minion. If your minion wins, you may play an extra minion here. Quick Draw. Choose one of your minions. If it's in a duel, it gains +4 power until the end of the turn. Otherwise, it gets +2. So if these two guys were playing a minion here, and I did my face-down card, so these two minions here are here, and they're both 2, and I'm the mummy player, and he plays this face-down, and he pulls it over, it's going to give him a +4. So now his 2 is going to be a 6, and say this guy didn't play anything, he's going to lose and be destroyed. So that's kind of how that's going to work with the duel. So the Quick Draw is a great card to have for the dueling faction. So let's zoom back in here. Dynamite Surprise. Before a base scores, when you have a minion and not winning, destroy a minion of power 4 or less there. Special, if another player's card reveals or looks at a card in your hand or deck, destroy one of their minions of power 4. So you can throw some surprise dynamite out there. Run them off. One of your minions duels another player's minions at the same base. The winning minion gains +3 power to the end of the turn, and its controller moves the losing minion to another base. That might be a fail-safe in case you think you're going to lose. Each of your minion gains +1 power and cannot be destroyed, moved, or returned to their hand until the end of the turn. That's forming a posse. Gold in them dar hills. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck. Reveal and draw one of them. You may play as an extra card, return the rest in order. And this Stagecoach, move or transfer up to 2 of your cards on the same base to another base. Now, as for this set overall, I feel like this is a advanced set. I feel like you really need to know what you're doing. You need to go after those duels. You need to win those duels. And piecing these cards together, knowing the timing of them, and who to mix this with. So I like this one quite a bit, but I would say it's a little bit more of an advanced set, the Cowboys. Let's take a look at Ancient Egypt here, which we're going to, of course, get the stereotype of the mummies, right? Ongoing at the space scores, may bury this minion on another base. So these guys are going to use the burying action quite a bit, as you're about to tell. You got the Pyramid Engineer. You may uncover one of your buried cards here. Bury a card from your hand here. So that's how you're going to get them to be unburied in haste. Priest of Anubis. This minion has a +2 power if you have a card buried here. So having a card buried is going to help you out quite a bit. And then the Pharaoh. After another buried card is uncovered, draw a card. Special, before this base scores, you may uncover one of your buried cards here. Tomb Trap. Bury this card. When this card is uncovered, you may destroy a minion of power 4. That's a nice card, that Tomb Trap. Very nice. You can't take it with you. Bury this card. When this card is uncovered, draw 3 cards. So you want to get that one buried if you can. Bury a card from your hand or uncover one of your buried cards. Special, you may play this card before a base scores. Blessings of Anubis. Bury this card. When this card is uncovered, your minions here gain +2 power. So that's all about timing. Bury up to 2 cards from your hand on the same base or uncover up to 2 of your buried cards at the same base. Ancient Curse. Play on a minion. You may remove a +1 counter. Ongoing, this minion has -2 power, rather. And you get 2 of those curses. Plague of Locusts. Choose a base. All other players' minions there get -1 power until the end of the turn. You may play this before a base scores. Ooh, I like that quite a bit. Mummy Strength. Choose one of your minions. If there's a card buried on its base, it gains +3 until the end of the turn. Otherwise, it gains +2. Now, I feel like the mummies are kind of like, or the ancient Egyptians are kind of like the Cowboys. A little bit more advanced if you ask me, because you have to have that bury mechanic and you have to set it off at the right time. So it's all about timing and knowing your deck. I do think it plays easier than the Cowboys. I think the burying mechanism is a lot easier than the dual one to kind of plan out those victories. They're both about timing, so I'm going to set them side by side for a second. They're both about timing and hitting it at the right time. I just feel like the burying is easier because you're not relying on the other person. This one is unburied, you kind of have control of what's going on. This one, your opponent's going to be playing a card, so a little bit more of randomness or unexpectedness involved in it, if you will. But they're both, I would call them a little bit more advanced. Not that newbies can't have fun with them, it's just if you want to play them well, it's going to take a little bit of learning the deck. Here you're going to have the Samurais. Ongoing, after this minion goes to discard pile, from play, draw a card. That's pretty simple. Drawing cards is always good. Ronin, if this is your only minion here, place 1 power counter on it. So he likes to be alone. It's no big surprise there. Bushi, after this minion goes to discard pile, from while it has 5 or more power, gain 1 VP. So you want to get counters on this one if possible to get those extra VP. And the Shogun, after another of your minions goes to the discard pile from play, place a +1 power counter on this minion. So that can be really, really good for you. The final hand, play on one of your minions. After this minion goes to the discard pile from play, your minion each gain +2 until the end of the turn, which can be really good for Bushi, right? Honorable Combat, choose a base where another player has more power than you. One of your minions there duels one of the player's minions there. The controller of the winning minion gains 1 VP. So we see the duel mechanic coming in with the Samurais, not just the Cowboys. Yokai Attack, destroy one of your minions to play an extra minion and extra action. Great time to get rid of those Samurai chants, those weaker ones, right? You need a couple of those. Way of the Warrior, until the end of the turn. One of your minions gains +3 power, and if it goes to discard pile and play, you draw a card. Once again, getting with the Bushi, you can get a victory point and a card if you can time that just right. It can be super powerful. Honor the Ancestors. Place a +1 power counter on one of your minions. I guess maybe the Bushi would be a good choice. For each other player in the game, you may shuffle a minion from your discard pile back in your deck. Honor the Fallen. Play on a base. After one of your minions here goes to the discard pile, draw a card. I always like drawing a card, like having those options. Place a +1 counter on up to 3 of your minions. And Heart of the Battle, the final one. Play before a base scores. One of your minions there duels another player's minions there. Destroy the losing minion. Well, I like this one. It's really a lot of drawing cards, a lot of shifting power counters, and a couple of duels that are going to be in this one. I probably say this is intermediate to advanced, just because those duels are so dependent on timing, and you're going to need those timing in order to hit those just right. I feel like if you're new to the game or a newbie and don't play a lot of games like this, I think you're going to struggle on when to hit those. When you hit them, it can be really beneficial, especially if you can get everything lined up. But I think that there are a lot easier ones that are more straightforward to play. But I like these quite a bit. Now, the last one is going to be the Vikings. Let's go through this deck really fast. You're going to have the Host Carl. Place a card from your hand on top of your deck to give this minion +2 until the end of the turn. Now, those things to the end of the turn are always situational. You know, if you can burst something, it's probably why you want to do that. The Shield Maiden, reveal the top of another player's deck. If it's an action or minion of player 3 or less, place it in your hand. Otherwise, return it. The Raider, place up to 3 cards from your hand on top of your deck. The minion gets +1 for each one until the end of the turn. Whew, that is powerful, because if you can draw some cards, you know, just look at a deck with the Samurais where you're drawing a lot of cards. Mix that with this where you can draw a lot of cards and then you have them to kind of burn. Those Raiders can be 7s. That's very powerful. Now the Valkyrie, place a minion from another player's discard pile into your hand. Wow. You can really get somebody's good card that way. Pillage, take a random card from another player's hand and place it in yours. A lot of interaction here. Raiding Party, reveal the top 3 cards of another player's deck. You may play a revealed action or minion of power 4 or less as an extra card return rest in any order. Viking Funeral, play one of your minions of power 5 or more. After this minion goes to the discard pile, gain a VP. If you own it, put it back in the box. Wow. Ransack, place an action on a minion, an action on a base, or a buried card into your hand. So if you're playing the burying ones, you can definitely get that there. Berserk, place a card from your hand on top of your deck to give one of your minions +3 until the end of the turn. Time it just right, you're going to pop and score some points, right? Cast the Runes, look at another player's hand. Look at the top 2 cards of their deck and return them in any order, play an extra action. I'm not the biggest fan of like reordering cards. It never seems to work out for me. I can't think that far ahead. Combat training, each of your minions gets +1 to the end of the turn. +1's not a whole lot, but if you add that up, and just draw 3 cards, which you need for some of these cards to kind of burn them, like, for example, the Raiders, so this can be very powerful. The Vikings, I feel like, is the most straightforward of the group, at least in my mind. I feel like it's the easiest one to play. Might be a hint here that the Pirates could be really good to play with the Vikings, perhaps. I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that. But I think this is the easiest one of the group to play. I do like the challenge of the other 3 decks. For me, the Cowboys is the hardest. Then you have perhaps the Egyptians, then the Samurais, and this is definitely, to me, the most straightforward and easy. Draw cards and try to get those extra bonuses that you can. So, I like all these decks. This is very different than maybe what you get some places. So what do I think of Smash Up, Oops, You Did It Again? I think this is a gamer set. I think this is a set for people who really like this series. And it's no surprise that this has been, maybe just the factions, maybe not the cards so much, were voted on by the fans of the series. You're seeing a lot. Perhaps they kind of made the cards a little bit more complicated for gamers because gamers were picking this. People who've stuck with the series. It's almost like a thank you to the fans for saying, what do you want? Thank you for supporting this product. And I like that quite a bit. I do like that there are some decks out there that are a little bit more complicated. If you played it a while, you can be good at it with these, but it's going to take a little bit of work. And I might actually level the playing field a little bit against somebody who's never played before in my mind. I do like this set a lot. I think it has things like the Egyptians, the Vikings, Cowboys, and maybe even the Samurai. That's not really something that speaks to me very much. But these series in particular, I can see a lot of non-gamers getting into these and wanting to play this. And the Cowboys might be a little more American-centric. But I think that these fit really well together. I like what they've done here about the different countries and maybe, caricatures of their past, if you will. But I do like this set quite a bit. I love Smash Up. And this is one I absolutely tell you to go out and search for. This is one of my favorite sets like this they put in. And it instantly goes to maybe top 3, maybe top 5 of Smash Up expansion. Thanks for watching the video. I really appreciate you tuning in. If you liked it, please like it and hit that little subscribe button. That really helps out the channel. Lets us know that you're getting the videos that you want. If you agreed or disagree with what I said, feel free to comment below. I'd love to hear what you have to say, and I promise that I will comment back. Thanks for watching, and everybody else, keep playing.